estimate that they will sell more than 1 million pizzas for Thanksgiving Eve. Here's Lee Price. I drive your truck.
89 cents in the ashtray. Half-empty bottle of Gatorade rolling in the floorboard. That dirty Braves cap on the dash. Dog tags hanging from the rear view. Old skull can and cowboy boots and a gold army shirt folded in the back. This thing burns gas like crazy, but that's alright. People got their ways of coping, oh, and I got mine. I drive your truck, I roll every window down, and I burn up every back road in this town. I find a field, tear it up till all the pain's a cloud of dust. Yes, sometimes I drive your truck. I leave that radio playing, the same old country station where you left it. Yeah, man, I crank it up, and you'd probably punch my arm right now if you saw this tear rolling down on my face. Hey man, I'm trying to be tough, and Mama asked me this morning if I'd been by your grave, but that flag and stone ain't where I feel you anyway. I drive your truck, I roll every window down, and I burn up every back road in this town. I find the field, I tear it up till all the pain's a cloud of dust. Yes, sometimes I drive your truck. I've cussed, I've prayed, I've said goodbye, shook my fist and asked God why. These days when I'm missing you this much, I drive your truck, I roll every window down, and I burn up every back road in this town. I find a field, I tear it up till all the pain's a cloud of dust. Yes, sometimes, brother, sometimes I drive your truck. I drive your truck. I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind. I drive your truck. Real country.
This is the Hudson Valley's home for classic country favorites.
Blue Kentucky Highway, heading for the line. She hadn't said a word all night, but the wheels are turning in her mind. Now I was riding shotgun, and I knew things had gone right. Just as soon as she dropped me off at the side of the road, and she lit that gravel line. Now I'm walking in the moonlight, seeing nothing but the tail lights. And that's a pair of tail lights I may never see again. She hit me with the left and right, showing me nothing but the tail lights. And that's about as lonely as a highway's ever been. Back here with my thumb out in the wind. Was it something that I did to her, or the things I never said? I wonder if the way we were was only in my head. Now if I even make it back to town before the sun comes up, I'm gonna hit every parking spot around till I find that pickup truck. Now I'm talking in the moonlight, seeing nothing but the taillights. And that's a pair of taillights I may never see again. She hit me with her left and right, showing me nothing but the taillights. That's about as lonely as a highway has ever been. Back here with my thumb out in the wind. Well, I don't bet right now she's laughing at how she brought me to my knees. But she won't be laughing half as loud when she gives me back my keys. She'll be walking in the moonlight, seeing nothing but the taillights. That's a pair of taillights she won't ever see again. She hit me with her left and right, and with nothing but the taillights. I know that's about as lonely as the highway has ever been. Back here with my thumb out in the wind.
On 920 WGHQ, 1260 WBNR.
Good morning. You're now listening to Kingston Community Radio, airing on FM 92.5 and AM 920 WGHQ in Kingston, New York. This programming is brought to you by our listeners and corporate underwriters who are interested in presenting local community radio. The opinions expressed on this program do not represent those of Hamel Broadcasting or Kingston Community Radio. Listeners are encouraged to send in $10 per month to help bring this program to you, and mail your contributions to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York, 12402. For more information or to donate online, visit our website at mykcr.org. Good morning, this is Dan Gaddis, and thank you for tuning in, sharing the morning with us, being a part of a Super Wednesday, November 25th, Thanksgiving Eve. 34 degrees here in uptown Kingston and an overcast day. 20% chance of a rain shower later. It's a high of 51. Tonight, that goes up to a 70% chance of rain showers early, then a steady rain overnight. Low around 40. Waking up Thanksgiving Day, 70% chance of a steady rain in the morning. Showers continuing in the afternoon. Sorry to say. High 56. Thanksgiving night, preponderance of clouds early, then getting less cloudy overnight. Low of 41.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
Do you go all out decorating for the holidays? Snap a photo of your home's decorations and you could win $500. Enter Central Hudson's Holiday Spirit Photo Contest today. If your photo gets the most likes on our Instagram page, you win. Deadline to enter is noon on December 11th. For contest rules and information on how to submit your photo, go to Central Hudson's Instagram page, central_Hudson, or visit centralhudson.com.
Hi, this is Dina Roy from Hurley, and I support the Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
Thank you, Dina. And you're listening to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, WGHQ, 920 on your AM dial, 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. 331-9255 is our call-in number, and visit us often. Call in, be part of the show, 331-9255. And this is a Super Wednesday, and Greg Shorvis is in the on-air
This is
studio.
Nina Poshpak.
Is in the on-air studio.
Poshpak just jumped in on us.
Yeah, Nina did. Hi, Nina.
Thank you, Dan Gatis. Good morning. Good morning, listeners. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We'd love to hear from you this morning on Thanksgiving Eve. And we have Supervisor Fred Costello. I normally say he's alongside of me here in the studio, but he is virtual this morning. Good morning, Supervisor.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, listeners. How you all doing?
We are doing. How are you doing?
We're doing.
Good.
I'm doing really well.
Good to hear.
Doing really well.
So here we are.
Feels different not being in the studio, Greg.
What's that?
It feels a little different not being in the studio.
Oh, I bet it does.
Where are you calling from? Where are you?
The car.
Okay.
He's a busy man.
Yeah.
So here we are on the eve of Thanksgiving. Hard to believe.
Impossible to believe.
Impossible to believe
Seriously.
is correct.
Yeah.
But then, not liking what I'm seeing with the number of people that are not heeding the advices, the warnings. Just this morning, where yesterday, today is going to be the busiest travel day at the airports in 2020. Which that is hard to believe, because in January, let's take during President's Week, which is also another busy time at the airports. We weren't even talking, other countries were dealing with the pandemic. The United States was not. So to hear that yesterday, today, and especially today, it'll be the largest number of travelers taken to the air in 2020.
It's amazing. We all have been dealing with this for many months now, and people are getting complacent, and unfortunately, that's going to have repercussions.
I don't know how people can be getting complacent. I really don't. Now, maybe I'm cut out of a different, well, everybody knows I'm cut out of a different mold, okay? I'm not normal. But how people can become complacent when they see what is going on first across the rest of this country, which started now about 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, with the big spikes in increases. And now, unfortunately, we're starting to experience, thank God, not yet, to the level that other states, but we're seeing in Staten Island, where a field hospital opened yesterday. That kind of brings back those scary scenes we saw in the spring.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. And, we put a lot of effort into flattening. But I think it's just so difficult to make the transition from being able to be outdoors to being forced indoors, that this adjustment period is difficult for a lot of us. And the implications are going to be spikes in the spread of the disease. And, we're going to have the same challenges we did 8 months ago with hospital capacity and all the rest of it, probably in the near future.
And
the other thing, a little bit intimidating. And when you watch the news and you see that happening in Staten Island, geographically, that is not far away for us. That's only a hop and a skip.
Right.
And to the degree, and then there was also the report of a wedding with like 8,000 people at it. That's just selfish and foolhardy at best to have an event of that scale and expose all those people. It's disturbing, and none of this happens in a bubble. So, if bad decisions by our friend or neighbor could have an impact on our own family.
Yeah, that was very, very disturbing. I mean, 8,000 people. I mean, come on. And then the numbers now that they have confirmed tested positive as a result of being in attendance, they're never, ever going to know what that true number is, because people will become infected by, say, asymptomatic individuals that were part of that ridiculous 8,000. And And there never is going to be any kind of a true number or true indication. That's a case where, the contact tracing is nearly impossible to do to the fullest extent.
Agreed. It would take an army of people just to try to do a good job of the contact tracing. And that's a hard thing to do. I mean, you live an active life, as do I. And when you think about where you were yesterday and who you may have interacted with, it's pretty hard to recall all of that. So when you have something of that scale with that many people coming from all over the Northeast and the world, that's a really tall task to try to do a meaningful contact trace on that.
No, you're 100% right. And hopefully somehow we get through this Thanksgiving. And I don't know. I'm not too optimistic. I'll put it that way. And then also, what I am hoping is that with the record number of people that are now testing, obviously you're going to see an increase in the positivity numbers. However, what's disturbing is the percentage, because I think that's what plays a key. Let's face it, if 1,000 people get tested, and I'm just throwing numbers out here now, and 100 people come back positive, as opposed to 500 people getting tested and 100 people coming back testing positive, obviously that percentage is different. And I believe New York State was 2.87, including the microzones yesterday.
Yep. Actually, if that includes those microzones, Greg, there's some good news embedded in that. Staying under 3% is key to stopping widespread community exposure. And if we could stay under 3, including those microzones, that's a small array of good news.
I could be mistaken.
Hopefully we can maintain that.
I'm pulling it up right now. Okay, so the positivity rate in the microcluster focused areas was 4.13%. Excluding those areas, it was 2.62. So excluding it, we're at 2.62, including those, 2.96. But unfortunately, that number keeps creeping up every single day. Obviously, we're much better than Jersey, which is at 18%. That's a whopping number.
It is.
And I'm not sure. I haven't heard what Connecticut or Massachusetts, our other two bordering states, are at. And we do have March Gallagher, who's going to be joining us at 7:30, and maybe she can shed a little more light on things and give us an update also on with revenue and sales tax.
Yeah. So it appears, anyway, that our worst fears are not going to be met, that there was a small rebound in some of those revenues, which is good for the county and it's good for the towns. Towns are not quite as dependent upon sales tax as the county is, or the city of Kingston, but every little bit helps. And as you know, Greg, we just passed our budget last week, and in that budget is reflected a reduction in our anticipated sales tax revenue and a 20% reduction in aid that we get from the state. So, we're trying to be realistic about what potential challenges may lie ahead for us in 2021, and the absence of those revenues made this particular year's budget extraordinarily difficult. But we managed to pass something. I think it's an accurate reflection of what our costs will be for next year. It does not use fund balance, and hope you and the rest of the department heads and me and the board are going to have. We'll be managing that all year as we do every year. I think that's one of the reasons we've been successful, so to speak, is you're active in managing your budget as well as your staff, and Chief Sinagra and the rest of the department heads all do that as well. You can't just plan a budget in August when it's due in November. You have to start in January and live with the obligations that you made. And I'm grateful to you and the rest of the department heads for the effort that you put forth in doing that.
Well, you say start in January. Well, guess what? We're already jockeying numbers around as things become a little more evident for the budget submittal next year. Because if you don't take and do it as these things pop up, or as they come into your mind, or you think about it, or you say, oh boy, I wish I did this year or didn't do this, you make that modification. So each time you pull it up, you're doing a little bit here and a little bit there. So it becomes really a piece of cake when it's time for the final submittal. And I think I don't want to be speaking for other department heads, but I'm sure they take that same approach. We're very understanding of where you sit as the supervisor and the board. We all, without exception, even though we're not elected officials like you folks are, we all have an obligation and a responsibility to our taxpayers, to our residents, plain and simple. And I know, and I've talked to the chief about this, when a municipality, when we're able to pass a budget, and I say we because it is a collaborative effort, and you're not using fund balance, we realize and understand the positive effects of not using that fund balance and increasing the fund balance. That better our chances of getting grants. It betters our credit rating. So whether we're elected officials or not, everybody should take the stance that is managing taxpayers' money to be responsible and treat it like it's their own, and be conscientious of it. Not just, and that is some of the problem that other places I know face, because they don't treat it as if it was their money, their budget, their responsibility.
Yeah, that's, and ultimately it's all of our money as residents, and we need to instill confidence that we're doing the best we can with the resources that they provide to us. It's a balancing act, and it's a challenge every year. But I felt like this year, because of COVID, presented some unique challenges especially with the inability to make accurate predictions about revenues. And the aids to municipalities from the state for sororities is about $60,000. That's almost a 1% change in our rate by itself. If you extend that to the CHIPS funding that the highway departments get, 20% on Doug's budget is about $100,000. That is a lot of road materials that we either had to budget for in a different manner or just not plan work to do because we couldn't afford the road base materials. So those exercises in trying to make those decisions are difficult, because obviously you want to be as productive every year as you can, and when you defer maintenance of a road, it's not like next year you're starting from a clean slate. You have to try to catch up, and that's a very difficult thing to do. And this challenge is not unique to Sorges. That's true of every highway department across the county.
True. And it was a realistic approach that you and the board took, anticipating that 20% reduction. Now, if that 20% doesn't materialize to the full extent, let's say it's 18%, it's 15%. Well, that's only going to help the surplus, as opposed to only saying, well, they're saying 20%. We think it's going to be 10. We think it's going to be 12, and we budget for that, and then it materializes at 20%, and then we go, uh-oh.
Yeah, that would be bad financial planning.
Yes.
We need to be realistic about what resources we have and how we intend to use them. And if things come in better, like you indicated, that's a great news, and we can either take that opportunity to do some of the work that we put off, or there's no shame in having some money set aside. one of the priorities since I became supervisor was to improve the town's balance sheet and to increase our fund balance. And over the past 3 years, we have made significant gains, and that has been reflected in our credit rating every year. And we don't want to give up on that momentum. So, hopefully we'll get another positive report from the credit agencies, which I expect, and that'll be a good indication that the balance sheet of the town is continuing to improve. So
very good. So I got a couple announcements here. I'll squeeze these in.
Go ahead.
All are invited. Wreaths Across America. This is the Sorgeties VFW Post 5034. They're sponsoring their annual trip to Saratoga National Cemetery on Saturday, December 19th, to remember, honor, and teach our children the value of freedom. Wreaths are $15 each and are urgently needed this year. There'll be no bus this year. It's a self-drive. Meet at the Greco Senior Center on Saturday, December 19th at 9:45 a.m., where you'll receive instructions. Scheduled to place wreaths at 12 p.m., and then after that, they'll go to the Schuylerville American Legion Hall for a free luncheon. You may mail checks payable to Sorgeties VFW Post 5034, P.O. Box 152, Sorgeties, New York, 12477. And for further information, Bob Howe, 845-246-8510. And they're encouraging you to please call if you plan on attending this year. That's the Sorgeties VFW Post 5034 Annual Wreaths Across America, Saturday, December 19th. And last week we had, Stan Odell with us talking about the Captain Jack Rose Fallen First Responders Memorial. And as a reminder to our listeners, if you want to be part of that very impressive memorial that's going to be erected at the Market Street entrance to the Cantine Complex, you may purchase a brick paver with your name engraved. And the 4-inch by 8-inch brick, 3 lines of text, $75. 8-inch by 8-inch brick, 5 lines of text is $150. And for $250, you get a nice size 12 by 12, so that's 1 foot by 1 foot brick, 6 lines of text, and then you have the option also to choose any clip art that you would like to have for just an additional $15. The committee made a very nice presentation, PowerPoint presentation last evening to the Recreation Committee, and they're well on their way. They are still considerably short of reaching their goal of between $60,000 and $70,000, but they have several fundraisers coming up that they're hoping to do after the first of the year, one being a bowling tournament, this ongoing Buy a Brick fundraiser. So you can go right on to the website and get a form right off of there, or you can get a hold of anybody on that committee. And if you just want to mail your check in or a donation, you can, it's tax deductible, Captain Jack Rose Fallen First Responders Memorial, or you may, for short, CJRFFRM, CJRFFRM, care of Mike Carachet, 21 Division Street, Sorgeties, New York, and that's 12477. And for those who would like to see the area that it's going, it is painted now, where the sidewalk is going to be extended off the existing one, where we have the memorial for the veterans and also for the 9/11 memorial, and also the octagon-shaped area where the memorials are going to be replaced, and then the exit sidewalk back out to Mosier Drive. That's painted. So you'll actually get to see a visual of what this is going to look like. I'm going to try to get that up on...
It's impressive.
What's that?
It's an impressive monument.
It's very, very
impressive. People should take the time to look at it. It's really thoughtfully laid out. It'll complement that area at the entrance of Cantine Field, the Market Street entrance, in a very nice way. And that area has increasingly become more significant. It's where we do our 9/11, our annual 9/11 recognition ceremony. And this will certainly add to the area and make it a better area for memorialization.
Yeah, and you hit on a couple of key words there. This will certainly complement what is there now existing. One will complement the other. They made it a point to point that out last evening during the presentation.
Does everybody
Exciting
know?
stuff. Anybody who's interested, please, there's plenty of information on the website and on Facebook. You can see the design of the monument, and they have done a good job with fundraising, but every little bit helps. They still have quite a ways to go for their goal, and they want to install this by June, correct?
Yes.
Or May?
Yes, because the Firemen's Convention is in Saugerties. Hudson Valley is in Saugerties next year, July. I believe it's the third week in July. So yes, their goal is to have this in place by June of next year. And we all know how time flies. We just talked about it being Thanksgiving Eve. You know, June might seem like a long time away.
No,
it's not. But it's not.
Is everybody?
So there's fundraising efforts for the community to offset the cost of hosting the Firemen's Convention, and Kayla Nadal, Mike Carachet, and others have really put together a significant effort to do that. Their next event is at Mirabella's Pasta Dinner. I think it's on December 2nd.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Available online too.
Yep.
So it's another worthwhile event.
Dan, you were ready to say something?
Rockefeller, already nicknamed Rocky, is a little tiny northern saw-whet owl found in the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree.
Yes.
And it's in Saugerties. Yep. It's at the Ravensbeard Wildlife Center, getting better before it gets released.
Yeah.
Yes,
I thought that was just a beautiful little positive note.
It is a nice note.
Yeah. And
that particular organization, the woman particularly who runs that, she is recognized worldwide about her wildlife rehabilitation skills, especially with birds. And she's one of the premier venues. So Little Rockefeller found the perfect place to get rehabbed. And obviously it's a nice point of pride for us that it's in Saugerties. But it's my understanding that he will be released back out in the middle of the Catskills by Oneonta, where his native habitat is.
That was, it was a question that I didn't see in the news that I had, whether they would take it back to its own indigenous area.
That little fella had quite a trip.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
He did. He sure did. He went to the Big Apple.
Yes, he did.
He is cute with those big eyes. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah, the eyes are big.
Amazing little owl, yes, indeed.
Yep. There's he looks like for Star Wars fans, Mandalorian is a spin-off series, and there's a Baby Yoda, and that little owl's eyes kind of reminiscent of that Baby Yoda. He's really cute. It's fun. All right, we're almost to the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, we got a few more minutes. And then,
all right, so
for those listeners that weren't on the first part of the half hour, March Gallagher is going to be joining us at 7:30. And then we have Assemblyman Kevin Cahill. He's going to be here for the 8 o'clock hour. I'm sure he's got a lot to tell us about with the state.
Yeah, he always has a wealth of information.
Well,
I'm going to take, since we got a minute or two, I'm going to take the opportunity to share with our listeners that this morning at 11 o'clock, Peg Now will be sworn in as our 5th board member. A few months back, we had a board member resign early, and the town board went through a selection process, and we agreed to appoint Peg Now. She will be getting sworn in this morning at 11 o'clock in a hyphenated ceremony that's reflective of COVID, and so it's going to be comparatively small to what we would normally expect at an inaugural swearing in, but we're excited. Peg stood out amongst 11 people who applied. For folks that know her, she's been involved with LifeSpring, Kiwanis, League of Women Voters, and the list goes on and on and on. She's been dedicated to so many community organizations for decades, and she's a former tax collector, so she's had the responsibility of being an elected official before, and we look forward to her perspective on the board. I think she'll be a hard worker and add a valuable perspective to our efforts to try to serve the community. So that's going to happen this morning at 11 o'clock, and I want to wish her well, and we look forward to it.
You know, what a great choice you and the rest of the board made. I've known Peggy for, man, I don't know how many years. Many years. I can't even remember how long she was tax collector. It seemed like forever. And you know, you talk about an individual that's very, very dedicated, and also very, very the public relations that she brought to her office was always exceptional. Never brought politics into the office.
Nope.
And one of the reasons she was so successful year after year, and many years, she had no opponent whatsoever. So you know that's certainly a tribute to Peg. I was extremely happy when I heard that her name was in the mix with the others, and again, just a great choice you and the rest of the board made.
Well, thank you. It was difficult for us. You know, there was especially as you whittle it down. The finalists all brought something valuable to the table, and would have any one of the last 3 or 4 would have did an outstanding job.
Yeah, that's the tough thing when you have 4 or 5 really good candidates picking one. That's a challenge. It's difficult.
It is. It really is, Greg. And you know, there's a personal component to it as well. You know, we're a small community relatively, and we have relationships with many of those folks. So, you know,
Sure.
I get the unenvious job of calling everybody who did not get the job. So I made 10 of those phone calls and only got to make 1 celebratory phone call. So it was a pretty long day for me.
Well, that's why you're the head honcho. You get paid
That's right.
and get paid the little bucks.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Okay, so we're at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back in a few, listeners.
Okay, and thank you, Greg Shorvis and Fred Costello. You're listening to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. And this just in, one of our listeners just called in to tell us that on television this morning, one of her news channels, Rocky Rockefeller, the saw-whet owl, has been released back into its natural habitat today. Wednesday, November 25th, 34 degrees here in uptown Kingston. You're listening to AM 920, 92.5 FM, or online at mykcr.org. Weather and forecast for Kingston and the surrounding areas. Today, overcast with a 20% chance of a rain shower, a high of 51. Tonight, 70% chance of rain comes in and early, then a steady rain overnight, low around 40. Thanksgiving Day, 70% chance of a steady rain in the morning, showers continuing in the afternoon, a high of 56. Thanksgiving night, preponderance of early clouds and getting less cloudy overnight, low 41. Friday, cloudy, a high of 54, and Friday night, a few clouds with a low of 37. And we will be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Do you go all out decorating for the holidays? Snap a photo of your home's decorations and you could win $500. Enter Central Hudson's Holiday Spirit Photo Contest today. If your photo gets the most likes on our Instagram page, you win. Deadline to enter is noon on December 11th. For contest rules and information on how to submit your photo, go to Central Hudson's Instagram page, central_Hudson, or visit centralhudson.com.
This is Nina Postupak. Once again, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund is asking you to help the needy this holiday season. For the last 50 years, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund has helped less fortunate families have a happier holiday. Look for our collection boxes at the local branches of the Ulster Federal Credit Union, Roundout Savings Bank, the Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, Ulster Savings Bank, and at Cantine Field and Saugerties. Thank you and have a happy Christmas.
And thank you, Nina. You're listening to WGHQ, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, the home of Kingston Community Radio. 34 degrees on this Wednesday, November 25th, and this upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley and locations near you. Our call-in number is taken up by our guests for the next half hour, so stand by. If you have any questions, you can call in during the 8 o'clock hour. Let's get back to the on-air studio with Greg Shorvis and Fred Costello.
Thank you, Dan Gatiss, and welcome back, listeners who have been with us the first half hour. Those just joining us, welcome on this Wednesday, Thanksgiving Eve. And we have on virtually March Gallagher, our County Comptroller, and Fred Costello, Supervisor, Town of Saugerties. Good morning.
Hi, Greg.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Mark.
Team in the office.
What's that?
Thanks for holding up the team in the studio there.
Yeah, Greg is the only. Greg and Dan are the only ones with enough courage to be there.
I know. I'm looking at Greg on the camera. He can't see me, but I can see him.
How do I look, March? Uglier than ever?
Very professional. I'm so glad you're having me on, and thank you for holding down the fort. You know, I think with COVID numbers going up, we saw the county executive talking yesterday. We've got to be careful, but we still want to have the show.
Yes, but we do have to be careful. And earlier on, I was commenting to Fred and our listeners that today they are saying that it is going to be the biggest air travel day of 2020. And you stop and think, you go back to President's Week in January, which is a very big travel week, especially down to Florida, et cetera. A lot of colleges, a lot of schools have off for a week. Some schools are actually just ready to start their spring break. Even though the pandemic was evident in China and in other countries, it was not on our radar here in the United States. So to think that even going back to January, today is going to be a record-setting day for 2020 is a little scary and it's a little disturbing because obviously it's going against all of the advice, all of the directions from health officials, state officials, etc.
Stay home. Stay home. Actually, so what we're doing for Thanksgiving is we're having a socially distant Thanksgiving potluck exchange. You know, we always make the turkey, and I don't want my parents not to have that. I love my mother's cranberry sauce recipe, and so we're going to each cook at our houses, and then we're going to get together and exchange in probably at the Deep Stadium parking lot or somewhere. Or maybe we'll go for a little walk somewhere. And that way everybody gets the fixings. It'll kind of be funny. Like my father was like, we should take a video of that, you know, just exchanging the food outside. Something we can laugh about later, but keep everybody safe and have everybody have something to eat at home. You know, especially since we have, you know, some people that are compromised, immune compromised.
That's an interesting.
5 years from now, that would be fun to watch. You know,
right,
when,
right now.
we're trying to explain the memories. Now. Yeah. No, I know. And Fred, I mean, you guys, you know, your mom and dad, you're close with them, so you're already working with them in the same space. I take it you guys have spent time together at the restaurant and stuff. You know, that's a little bit different of a thing. Yeah. Yeah, so we will spend the day together because we've already been contaminated. But
right.
my mom loves, she owns a restaurant for a reason. She loves to host holidays. And in her mind, if she doesn't have 35 people, it's not even a party. And she's disappointed this year because obviously it's going to be mostly immediate family, and we're not going to have anywhere near 30 people. And she's kind of disappointed, but she understands it. And we're actually going to do a little bit of food exchange as well. My aunt we we do the turkey like you indicated that you do, and my aunt does all the sides. She does a great job with it, and we're going to share some turkey for some of the cornbread and sweet potatoes that she makes, and hopefully a pie.
Pie is the most important
fun.
part. I'm a total pie snob. I make pies, and then I make a secret pie. That's just for me.
That's your pie?
That's my pie, exactly. Apple. I'm going to make myself a secret apple pie. Greg, what about you? What are your plans for?
Jen and I are, the last number of years we've gone to Diamond Mills. We're going to do the same. Tom Struzzari and Brianne Ebel there have they've done a very, very good job, I feel, with social distancing, some of the cleaning measures, sanitizing measures that they have taken. I was there for the Hope Rocks gala, and they have a solid retractable wall, which they had out, and there was less than 50 in one room, less than 50 in another room. And considering when that room is fully open, the capacity is 400. Well, to have less than 50 in 50% of the room and less than 50 in the other half of the room, you can be 16 feet socially distancing because there's just that much room.
And I saw photos of them in the kitchen there preparing food for distribution, like just a huge amount of generosity. I mean, really incredible work that's going on between, giving away turkeys, but also prepared food. It's really heartwarming.
He's doing 1,200 turkeys that he's obviously donating 100%. He's delivering them. We brought him on, Monday, probably well over 100 boxes. So the turkeys could get transported throughout the greater, and not just in Kingston, not just in Sorgeties, but I'm not sure how they go about identifying it. I think People's Place, they identify where the meals are going, and you hit the nail right on the head. His generosity is tremendous, and it's time and time again. And there's so many things that people don't see that Tom Struzzari does, that because I'm involved, Freddie Costello's involved, the mayor is involved, they don't see. And Tom's not a person that likes the limelight.
Yeah, he doesn't like that attention.
No, he does not like that attention. That was, I think, very, very clear the last time we had him on the radio.
Oh, I would love to hear that interview. Yeah, I mean, they've given back so much, and he does the turkeys every year, and I've heard that he's a tough negotiator on the turkey purchase side. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But,
I'm sure he is.
Right? Yeah. At People's Place, I know that they are helping over 1,000 families have Thanksgiving dinner, and it's just amazing. I wish we weren't in this place where people needed charity. I mean, and I think that raises a whole bunch of other questions, right? Why are things so uneven? Why are people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk able to, go from, to enhance their billions by additional billions during the pandemic, right? While so many people are having a difficult time. So, I think we have some big questions going forward.
Yeah, there's the economic fallout from this whole thing. Sometimes I look at things and I think I see trends, but it's we don't know the impact of what's happening until we get there. And I think there's going to be some significant disparities, as you indicated. Obviously, Amazon was catered to the pandemic. They created shopping opportunities from our phones and computers that fit right into the paradigm of social distancing. So it ended up being a boom and a benefit for them. And there are some economic positive things that we could identify. There are some local, obviously the package delivery services are doing well with that, and there are some local distribution centers being built in support of that activity. But there are other things that are suffering. And
it's interesting when we look at the sales tax data, we see building materials way up, liquor stores way up, grocery up, but regular, for example, retail is down and restaurants way down. I'm concerned about what they call a K-shaped recovery, and that is where people who have been traditionally doing well in the economy, as the economy starts to recover, continue to do well, do better, and then people who have been doing less well, low to moderate income families, do much worse. And so, that's what I'm saying we have to have our eye out for. And personally, I really, I don't like to just say the words wealth tax because I think it rings a bell that makes people really upset. But I do think if you look at our history as a country, we did impose some major taxes when we saw growth in certain industry sectors. So after World War I, we imposed the victory tax and a bunch of other taxes that were very high tax rates. And we've had kind of a similar industry growth in digital media. And it might be time to, look at digital antitrust and taxation of those proceeds and profits from those industries. Just a thought. I'm hoping we'll see some. Obviously, this is a federal issue. I don't think New York alone taxing the super wealthy is the best way to go, because I think that does create flight from the state. I think we need something that's national. And when I say tax the wealthy, none of those people are listening to this show. None of those people are on this radio station. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about people that you and I, that the three of us would probably never meet in our lifetime. I don't know. Greg, what do you think about that?
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I agree 100% because, it's just very, very unfair. You touched upon the middle income and those that are struggling, that will either continue to struggle once the economy comes back, or even more so.
Exactly. Yep.
And just this morning, on the way down, listening to the news, the Poughkeepsie station, concerns about increased numbers of households having trouble with heating bills this upcoming winter.
Absolutely. I would imagine there's going to be a lot of requests through that Central Hudson Fund and more. I can tell you right now that HEAP applications are up. I do track, I track things like SNAP benefits and, Medicaid enrollment. HEAP, I haven't created a chart for it yet, which I need to do, but it will be, instructive to see how many people are needing heat assistance. And hopefully, well, I don't know. I want to say hopefully the winter's not that cold, but maybe that's not the case, right? I mean, that just shows that there have been changes in what we can expect in climate. And in fact, when we don't have a cold winter, that's not the best thing for winter visitation, which drives a lot of lodging, particularly in the western part of the county. So, good and bad mixed together, right? But
yeah, and they touched upon, they had touched upon in the early going here, the number of increased applications to HEAP. So I think that's kind of where they're getting their anticipated projections of this. And like you said, there's the positive side of the ledger, there's the negative side of the ledger. I think just having a milder winter, the positives outweigh the negatives, and I'm certainly hoping for it. And obviously, with municipal budgets, with heating, it helps tremendously.
It's interesting you raise that point. There's an article in the Freeman this morning for the readers who are looking online. It was about the funding decisions that the legislature is contemplating right now, and in particular the grants that they make to nonprofits. Or they're not structured as grants because the government can't give away grants. They're structured as fee-for-service contracts. But one of them that came up was a request by UPAC for assistance that they typically put towards heat, and the legislators were just sort of confounded that UPAC was requesting the same amount, given that how could they need the same amount of heat when they're not open. I came away from that conversation thinking, wow, I really just don't know enough about building maintenance through the winter. I mean, I'm sure you guys probably, Greg, in your work, I'm sure there are things you winterize, right, where you're just draining the pipes and shutting it down for the winter. And I don't know if there are reasons why you can't do that in certain spaces, but they were definitely looking over every penny with that sort of eye last night. It was very interesting.
With the exception of 3 buildings in the complex. Every building is shut down, winterized, the lines blown out. It's about a 2-week process for us to winterize all the buildings, the concessions, and blow out the amount of irrigation lines that we've got. It's basically, maybe not constant, but a good 10 days, a good 10 to 12 days for everything. But you're 100%.
Taxpayer money.
Excuse me?
It saves the taxpayer money.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what is the sense of heating buildings? People will say, well, I'm going to heat it to 45 degrees. Well, that's still energy consumption. It's still greenhouse gas emissions, and it's still money.
Right.
So it just doesn't make any sense. And where buildings that are not in use, and it's, even if they're, let's say February rolls around and they reopen, it's very, very easy. It's much easier to bring a building back online than it is to winterize it, blow the lines out, et cetera. It's just a matter of closing the valves and opening the supply line.
Right. I see that we're finally, I think getting clarity on our elections here in New York, right? What the results were. It took quite a while. We didn't start our count till later than other states. And we do have some changes in the Hudson Valley, right? I mean, Michelle Hinchy won her seat, despite that being extremely
so excited about that.
Challenging, an extremely challenging geography. But it will be, sort of a return to having a Hinchy represent Saugerties. That's going to be really, really interesting.
It'll be awesome.
I saw Jen Metzger lost her seat to Martucci.
That became official yesterday as well in March?
Yes, that was called yesterday as well. Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm really excited to see the work that Michelle can do. After being on the road with her many times, she is somebody that can talk to anybody and is really good at grasping issues quickly. And I think, those are traits her dad had. And I'm just kind of really excited to see the work that she does. And it's funny because, she's young and I've heard from people like, well, she's not that as experienced. Well, okay, but let's not forget where Maurice was, right? He was a toll collector, Maurice Hinchy, before running for office. I think they said the same thing about him, so...
and he figured it out.
Incredibly smart person who's going to, I think, do a great job. And
I
work with
agree.
I always have to get a kick out of people that say, well, they don't have the experience. How do you gain experience? All of us, for the first time in our livelihoods here, we gain experience by actually doing the work, by actually getting engaged. So I never buy that. I never like that. Well, they don't have the experience. Well, if that person has the initiative and the initiative to learn, listen to people, take constructive criticism, that's how you're going to gain the experience, and that's how you're going to gain the experience the quickest. But one thing I wanted to say was I just thought that was quite amazing, considering I believe the day after election she was down by 8,100 votes. And to come back and take that victory, that was awesome.
Yeah,
pretty extraordinary.
It was that mail-in,
but that's been a consistent theme as canvassing is closed throughout the country. That clearly folks that were supporting Democrats were willing and took advantage of the opportunities to vote by absentee and to vote early, and for whatever reason, it appears Republicans did not feel motivated to employ those opportunities. And as those counts get canvassed and audited, it's clear that much of the absentee ballot returns were favored to Democratic candidates.
Right. Well, I think,
I'm excited for Michelle, March.
What did you say?
I was just going to say, I was so excited for Michelle. You're right. She has a unique ability to communicate with anyone, and she gets issues really quickly. And, and for a young person, she has a lot of life experience. She worked for a big media company in New York City, and she never forgot her roots here at home. And she's been active with a number of community groups and organizations since she's been back. And I think she's going to serve us well.
And March, you hit the nail on the head. She is a great, great people person, as I like to call it.
Oh, yep.
Absolutely. I mean, can just make anybody comfortable, and it doesn't really matter what their ideology is. And I think we need more of that kind of conversation and dialogue where it doesn't really matter, which hat you wear, what side of the aisle you're on. We need to return to civility and the ability to work together. And I just think that, she's going to do a really great job at that. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, and I also feel like for me as a woman, election night, to see Karen Smythe, Jen Metzger, and Michelle Hinchy down, I was like devastated. I kind of imagine myself being among these other women elected officials, and then I was like, wait, what? So yeah, I took a lot of joy and relief from seeing her pull it out. And we're changing the way we do elections.
But your point is a valid one. My daughter voted for the first time this year, and she got to know Michelle a little bit, and her enthusiasm and excitement about having someone she could relate to winning it's uplifting for me. That's what this democratic process is all about. She's so enthused, and she feels a real connection with somebody who's going to be a state senator. And I was like, wow, this is a pretty special moment. And both of them being young women is a part of that connection for sure.
Right, and now your daughter can look and say, like, hey, I could do that too.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. No, it's this was a different year. I mean, because not just a COVID, but we also had our second year of early voting, right? And our first year of kind of significant vote by mail. And it's interesting because I think it would have taken us a much longer time to accept vote by mail if it wasn't for the pandemic. And I hope that we will see it now because it has traditionally enhanced turnout, and it can be used safely. So I'm hoping that this will be kind of, the starting point for greater voter turnout, which we clearly need.
Yep. Let me ask you something, March, because you heard so many places, maybe not here in Ulster County, where they did not start counting the early voting until either Election Day or the day after. Now, to me, that doesn't make any sense. On Election Day, the election workers, the people that work for the Board of Elections, I'm sure are stressed right to the limit. And then to have that additional burden of having to count. And I believe that this early voting is just going to take right off. More and more people are going to take advantage of it. Wouldn't it make better sense for that early voting to end 2 to 3 days prior to Election Day, where those election inspectors, those election workers that work for the Board of Elections have the opportunity to count those early returns and have them counted by the time Election Day comes?
So, it's interesting you say that. I mean, the early voting on the machines at the 7 locations or the 5 locations was included in the voting totals in the tallies for election night.
Correct.
Paper ballots returned were not. As I have to tell you, as an attorney who's represented, candidates who sat at the table with the Board of Election Commissioners, you do want to have the right to challenge ballots that are invalid. So that's why you don't see them count the paper until after, when they put it all together. They're checking for postmark date. They're checking for the signatures. But it would seem like maybe we could start those challenges earlier. I don't know, in terms of our Board of Elections process, they didn't start counting the paper ballots until, I want to say, the 11th, I think it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that because they're giving military ballots and other ballots time to come in.
But it certainly was good to see, and again, I just think that that the early voting is going to take right off, and you're going to see, even without, hopefully this thing will be behind us come next November, this health crisis. I still feel that you're going to see the numbers increase, and people are going to take advantage of the early voting.
I agree. Well, it'll portend for the future. I'm going to be running next year, 2021, because my seat is I'm filling a vacancy. It's only a 2-year term. So I'm looking forward to working with people on, getting them to come out early and vote early. But the main point is vote however you do it, right? It doesn't matter whether it's early or by mail or in person on Election Day. I talked to a lot of voters who wanted to go on Election Day the regular way, and that's just fine. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm one of those creature of habits also. I wanted to do it on Election Day. I'm always nosy, too, because I always like to see how many people have voted before me.
Right? It's exciting, and I miss my poll workers. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and I vote at the Greco Center, and Leanne Quirk, who I know real well, is there, and Antoinette Babb, who's been doing it, I don't know how many years, and it's interesting. I live right next to a polling place. I live right next to the Malden Firehouse, but I have to go into the village at the Greco Center to vote.
Right, exactly. I just saw on Twitter this morning, and I was going to send it over to the election commissioners. It was a congratulations document, sort of like a proclamation that is sent to the poll workers after Election Day in a certain jurisdiction, not in our state, congratulating them for, upholding democracy. And I thought it was a really cute idea. I think, those people are really, they're on the front line, especially this year. You see it. And you have volunteers who are senior, who have been putting in many, many years, decades really, and should be appreciated. So we thank our poll workers for sure.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, March, we are out of time. March Gallagher, Comptroller, Ulster County, thank you very much for taking time out of your
Happy Thanksgiving.
busy day. Yes, happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe, be well, and we'll be back in a few, listeners.
Okay, and thank you, March Gallagher. And Fred Costello, of course, calling in remotely, and Greg Shorvis and I here. This is Dan Gatis. And thank you so much for being with us today. It is KCR, Kingston Community Radio, WGHQ, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. It is now 8 o'clock a.m., Wednesday, November 25th, 36 degrees here in Uptown Kingston. And this last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, locations near you. Mid-Hudson Valley weather and forecast. Today, overcast, 20% chance of rain shower, high of 51. Tonight, 70% chance of rain showers early, then a steady rain overnight, low around 40. Thanksgiving Day, 70% chance of steady rain in the morning and showers continuing in the afternoon. Sorry to say that, but that's the facts, I guess. High of 56. Thanksgiving night, quite a covering of clouds early, then getting less cloudy overnight, a low of 41, and then Friday, cloudy with a high of cloudy with a high of 54, and then Friday night, a few clouds with a low of 37.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Do you go all out decorating for the holidays? Snap a photo of your home's decorations and you could win $500. Enter Central Hudson's Holiday Spirit Photo Contest today. If your photo gets the most likes on our Instagram page, you win. Deadline to enter is noon on December 11th. For contest rules and information on how to submit your photo, go to Central Hudson's Instagram page, central_Hudson, or visit centralhudson.com.
This is Nina Poshupak. Once again, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund is asking you to help the needy this holiday season. For the last 50 years, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund has helped less fortunate families have a happier holiday. Look for our collection boxes at the local branches of the Ulster Federal Credit Union, Roundout Savings Bank, the Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, Ulster Savings Bank, and at Cantine Field and Saugerties. Thank you and have a happy Christmas.
And you're with us back here at Kingston Community Radio. And this upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Central Hudson. You are listening on AM 920 or 92.5 FM, or you're watching online at mykcr.org. It's Wednesday, November 25th, and 36 degrees here in Uptown Kingston. Our call-in line is 331-9255. And Le Canard Enchaîné still has seating available for Thanksgiving dinner, spaced seating, 1 p.m., 4 p.m., and 6:30 p.m. $45 pre-fee dinner, 3-course dinner with many choices. And you can also call 339-2003, 845-339-2003 to make reservations for takeout. Same dinners. And let's get back to the on-air studio with Kevin Cahill and Greg Shorvis. Welcome back.
Thank you, Dan Gatis, and welcome back, listeners who have been with us, and those just joining us, welcome. We've got State Assemblyman Kevin Cahill here in the studio. Good morning, sir.
Hello, gentleman. and
Freddie's here, Dan. Freddie's here, too.
We got Fred here, but virtually.
Where's Fred?
Supervisor Fred
I'm
Costello?
on the other line, Kev. Good morning. How you doing?
Hey, Fred. How you doing? I was listening in the first hour. I heard you calling in, and you're doing a great job. You could fool most of the listeners. They would think you were here.
Well, I guess that's good. It's an odd experience not being in the studio, though, Kev.
Yeah, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, I had been calling in, and that is not my preferred way of doing things. It's like I've done a lot of telephone interviews, and there's something about being present, being face to face, and it makes all the difference. But you pull it off. You're a better man than me.
Okay, so
we're losing his signal. I'll open it back up so he can call back.
All right, so while we're waiting for Supervisor Costello to call back, it is time for birthdays. I know you don't like to get involved with
I just don't want to pick the loser.
Okay. Well, guess what?
Go for it. Okay.
So, please wish a happy birthday to Liam O'Neill, and that's from family and friends. And that is all we have today. So today's winner of the famous cow pie from Boyce Dairy Milk House is Liam O'Neill.
Moo. Dan's on the phone, so he couldn't.
The cow's
He
asleep
couldn't be the
still
cow.
this morning.
Moo.
Liam O'Neill, congratulations. Happy birthday. When you get the opportunity, get down to Boyce Dairy Milk House, 62 O'Neill Street, right here in Kingston, New York. Pick up your famous cow pie, which is courtesy of Boyce Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community Radio. And listeners, please... the cow just awoke. A little bit late,
Just woke
but
up.
as they say, better late than never. And listeners, please continue to send in your birthdays. We don't... Normally, we'd be announcing for Thanksgiving Day because we're not on the air tomorrow, but there was no birthdays sent in for tomorrow. So please, very easy to do. You can email to kcr921@gmail.com. You can postal mail to Kingston Community Radio, P.O. Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. So again, we love to have you send in the birthdays and the anniversaries. Congratulations again, Liam O'Neill. Happy birthday. Have an awesome day and an awesome Thanksgiving.
You know, we Cahills could consume the month of November with birthdays. I mentioned this last time I was on, that we start with my sister-in-law and we wind up with my brother Brian, and in between there are literally 8 birthdays. So
8. That's a lot of cake.
Immediate relatives.
So
that's great.
That's
a
10
lot of
altogether.
Cake. It's like a staple in your diet.
No. I'm sorry. There's 8 altogether. There's 8 altogether. But next Monday, my brother Brian, my much older brother Brian. No, he's younger actually. We'll round out the month with his birthday. But in between, another brother, a sister, a sister-in-law, a niece, two nieces, maybe 3 nieces. And the list
Hard to
goes
keep
on.
track of
My
that.
cousin Diane, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. My brother, I sent something to my brother Terry on his birthday, which happened to be Veterans Day, and he sent me back a list twice as long as the one I sent him. So happy birthday to all my siblings, my nieces, my nephews, my cousins, and everybody else that celebrates it, and to everybody who is lucky enough to have a November birthday.
Indeed. And do we have Supervisor Costello back with us?
I am back.
I hope you have that phone plugged in, because it'll be dead by 8:50.
So we're gonna make it. I got plenty of battery life. I just don't know if I can keep a good enough connection to stay on. So I apologize. But Kevin, I wanted to also congratulate you. You were just reelected as well.
Oh, thank you.
Well deserved.
Oh, that's right. You weren't here.
Represented. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks. We there were a couple things about this election that made me very, very happy, and there were a couple things about this election that leave me feeling less happy. And the less happy part is, and I don't have anything against Mr. Martucci, but Jennifer Metzger was such a terrific colleague, and it looks like that election is going the other way. She served one term. So did I. I left and then I came back. So it is my hope that the good people of her Senate District number 42, or whatever the number is after reapportionment, have another chance to have Jen represent them. But on the bright side, and also Karen Smythe was not successful, but Sue Serino is a terrific representative. So congratulations to Sue, and congratulations to Karen Smythe for giving it a good run. The big race around here, of course, is the return of the name Hinchy to the halls of Albany, absent now for, let me do the math real quick here, 28 years absent from the halls of Albany, and now returning with Michelle getting elected to the New York State Senate, and making sure that we have a resident state senator in Albany. It's going to be a great partnership. I'm looking forward to working with her. I remember election night this year. It was sort of bleak. Things didn't look good. It looked like the Senate was not going to achieve their supermajority. It looked like the Assembly was going to lose a significant number of seats. But then we saw what we anticipated in the absentee votes. We anticipated that because, and not because Democrats vote absentee, they don't, but this year they did. They were encouraged to do so, and they did. Republican voters were encouraged to not vote absentee, and they didn't. So the result was that phenomenal percentages of votes went to the Democratic candidate when the paper ballots were counted.
Like we've never seen before.
Like we've never seen before, and we'll never see again, because you need to have that combination of factors. You need to have of course, the pandemic changing people's perspective on whether to vote by absentee, but also the top of the ticket on the opposite side of the party that I'm in was actively advocating against absentee voting. So if the top of my ticket was actively advocating against it, and I supported that person and I wanted their strategy to win, I would have adhered. So there were some districts where we saw 90% of the absentees go to the Democrats.
Wow.
And I know
Michelle was down by what, 8,100
Yeah.
the day after?
Yeah.
That's quite a feat.
So the second half of this was, there was a lot of doubt cast on that remarkable turnaround. The president spent the last several weeks telling people that the paper ballots shouldn't count, or don't count, or should count if you needed them. But the fact of the matter is, there are a number of people, including some very good and well-meaning friends of mine, who believe that there were shenanigans. There wasn't. This was a decision by people to vote by paper. Not everybody has that option. And we don't have that option fully after we're not in an emergency until the voters decide that that's the way we want to go. And that's the important point to remember. In most states where paper ballots are universal, it was the will of the people that caused that to happen. It wasn't a legislator that from one party or the other who said, oh, this will be to my advantage. And the same process will hold in New York State. We cannot go with universal absentee voting. That is, what we have already is a very limited right for absentee voting, unless the voters decide that that's what they want to do. Two houses of the legislature, two sessions of the legislature have to pass a constitutional amendment proposal. That proposal goes on the ballot. Hopefully it will be on the ballot next fall, and people can decide whether they want to open up the doors to more expanded absentee voting. So if they do, we might see some of this continue, not the percentages of Democrat versus Republican, but the number of people who voted. The other thing that made me smile.
Along those points, I think is that you touched upon it, but I think it's something worth reinforcing. The only reason many of us were able to vote absentee was because COVID became a qualifying event.
Correct.
And under normal circumstances, I may not have been eligible to vote as an absentee voter.
That was the primary reason that more people became eligible to vote absentee, because you could simply list COVID as your reason, as your health reason.
Health issue.
And there's only two reasons you can vote absentee in New York State. One is for health reasons, and the other is because you're going to be out of the district on election day, so out of your election district, and you're not able to do so. So the idea this year that more people had access to it was very important. And there was one other factor that we will be examining the impact of it when we have a chance to breathe after all the results were tabulated. And I want to join March Gallagher in thanking and congratulating the temporary election workers and also the permanent election staff for doing a terrific job. And my warmest wishes and best wishes to Beth Soto, the soon-to-be former commissioner in Dutchess County, because her committee voted to have someone succeed her. But what a challenge this was this year. But there was one other factor that we'll be examining the impact of it and determining, what has been the prior impact. And that is that we made it somewhat easier to file an absentee ballot. In the past, when you filed a paper ballot, you were opening yourself up to a raft of potential challenges: stray marks on your ballot, addresses not quite where they wanted to be, scotch tape sealing the envelope, all these things previously disqualified ballots. And now, under the more liberalized rules, as long as the voter is legal and the intention is clear, the vote should count. So that resulted in over 3 out of 4 eligible voters in our county and in the neighboring counties voting this year. That's a pretty high number.
That is a high number.
That is a pretty high number. There's still room to grow that, but I think one of the things that is inspiring is that so many people voted. I think President-elect Biden crossed the 80 million vote threshold yesterday. 150 million people vote, which is a high watermark by any standard, which is pretty exciting.
Well, we've always talked about how disappointed we are to see the number of people, the low percentages of people that come out to vote. And it was so good to see, with the combination, unfortunately, of a health crisis, the early voting, the absentee ballot, the number of people that voted, and then also the number of young people. And Fred, you talked about your daughter. It was good. That was a good example of how enthused that they got with the voting process and wanted to be involved and wanted to vote.
Yeah, that was, like I said earlier, it was inspiring to witness that and share that moment with her and a lot of her friends who voted for the first time as well. It was that's really how it was envisioned for participation, and our founders, I think, were smiling upon that young group of folks who came out for the first time. It was great.
This is also the time of year where people who didn't prevail in the elections are reflecting mightily. And just to all of those folks, I thank you for participating in the process. And just a word of advice as a person who's been on the losing side a couple of times in my career, this is the time to analyze the results as carefully and as deeply as you can, determine what there is that can be done differently in the future. Determine what unique factors existed this year, and if you decide to go at it again, darn it, have at it. But also thank you for all who ran. I got to really I got excited about Jim Barber in the seat that Jim Seward is vacating. The other candidate, one, I think his name is Obermeyer. Like I said, I was looking forward to the return of Jen Metzger and the excitement of having Michelle come up, but I was also very interested in the campaigns of Lorette Gardino, who ran for the Assembly against Kieran Michael Lawler in eastern Dutchess County, and Chad McAvoy, who ran in a portion of Ulster County that we have an incumbent, also a very good Representative Brian Miller down in the Ellenville area, and Betsy Kratt, who ran in the Saugerties area. These folks really put their heart into it, and they deserve our thanks and appreciation for putting themselves out there and just going through this campaign, and especially to those who had to endure the last couple of weeks of counting paper and seeing if it moves along any differently.
Not knowing, yeah, and that's a very good point. That we will also have to be very appreciative and thankful for the number of people that got involved in the democratic process and ran for office, taking the initiative to run for office, and we can't overlook that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. So, but the voters spoke. That's the best part.
Yes, yes. And finally, on the federal level, our president has come to his senses. And you know what kept going through my mind, where every day you heard on the news where Biden wasn't privileged to the national security breaching? Right. That obviously had to put this country in some kind of danger. And of course, what went through my mind was, is some of these wackos going to take advantage and plan a terrorist attack on the United States? It had to jeopardize to some degree the national security of our country because of his reluctantness.
I don't know whether there's any substance to it, but a couple of different reports have come out that the length of time that was spent in Bush v. Gore after the 2000 election, when George W. Bush and Al Gore were running, and it was undecided, and we had the Florida hanging Chad situation right almost to December, that those missing few weeks of the transition from a national security perspective deprived the incoming Bush administration of an opportunity to fully integrate their intelligence operation, and may have contributed to 9/11.
Wow.
And
wow.
So there
First
are.
I ever heard anybody put it in that kind of perspective the way you just did.
There are real consequences.
I read reporting that indicated the exact point that Kevin just made, and it reinforces what you had witnessed, Greg. This, the peaceful transition of power is special and unique to the democratic process, and to the degree that has been brought into question and failed is horribly upsetting, and it has repercussions. Hopefully it doesn't have lasting repercussions, but it certainly has repercussions. There's polling to indicate that 70% of the folks that voted for Trump don't think that the election was legitimate. That's in the face of the fact that there is no hard evidence to indicate that it wasn't legitimate. That's disturbing. And, the confidence in the electoral process is fundamental to us as residents believing that the system works.
We've got a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio.
Good morning, gentlemen. How is everybody doing today?
We are doing. Don't
Good.
ask what,
I hope
but we are
everybody
doing.
have a happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you, George.
Eat and enjoy. Kevin, as far as absentee ballots going, I got no problem with them as long as the state stays where they are requested.
I'm sorry, as long as they are what?
As long as they stay where you have to request them. An absentee ballot like that we have right now.
Yeah, wait, so you like the idea that the absentee ballot is returned to its original election district before it's counted?
I like the idea that you have to request it in order to get it to where.
Gotcha.
Some
Request it.
states to not just mail out going by the
Understood.
voter rolls,
Yeah.
the whole voter rolls.
There's no evidence that those states that have been using universal paper voting, mail-in ballots, or in some, there's one or two states that actually use internet voting, that there's been any increased evidence of fraud or misuse or abuse or anything else. I mean, it became an issue this year for New Yorkers because we saw an expansion of our right, and it became an issue across the country because the president decided that it was, for whatever reason, a strategy that he wanted to pursue to discourage people from using it. But there are states that have been using universal mail-in voting for over a dozen years. This is not a new concept, and it's tested. And one of the things that people were asking, why is New York the last one with our results? After every absentee vote was filed, and Ashley Dittis and John Quigley can speak more to this, but after every absentee vote was counted, the books were checked to make sure that person didn't show up to sign. to vote on Election Day, make sure that they didn't vote anywhere in New York State. So a comparison was run across the state so that we were sure that that person didn't double vote. There's a lot of checks and balances. It's a lot easier to verify a paper ballot than it is if you just walk into the polling place and say, "Hi, I'm John Smith, and I'm here to vote."
Right. Yeah. Is there any way there ever going to be a chance of voter ID? We got to show ID, walk in the federal buildings and everything else. We got to show ID, buy cigarettes and stuff. We got to show ID to fly and everything else. Voting is just as important.
This is an issue that we handled in the state legislature about 15 or so years ago on the Help America Vote Act task force that I was a part of. The federal government gave us money to modernize elections. That's why we now have paper ballots that are scanned instead of the lever machines that are broken.
As the software has enough security on it.
Yeah, and that's what the Board of Elections spends the other 11 months of the year doing, is making sure that's the case. But we talked about identification, and nobody objects to identification. We have to know who you are. What the question was is, what is the appropriate form of identification? Driver licenses are great for people in upstate New York who drive. My mom doesn't drive.
Down in the city and stuff, or just a regular government issued ID card.
Yeah, we've always
or a state issued ID card.
We've always had a hesitancy to have a government issued ID, a mandatory government issued ID, because it's sort of like the same thing people talk about their invasion of privacy under COVID, or their concern about gun rights. It's an individual liberties issue, and I think there's some merit to it. I really don't want to have have the government be able to monitor me wherever I am and whatever I'm doing. We're already looked at too much, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, they do that with the chips and everything else, and your Easy Pass and all that good thing. Which now the Thruway is all Easy Pass.
Yep.
And I understand that because I've worked the polls for the past 4 or 5 years, except for this year, because I'm over that age that you have to really be careful, and because I'm over 65 and stuff, and there was no plastic barriers put up for the poll watchers at all. You just basically had the mask and hope the other people had a mask and didn't sneeze or cough on you. Because I voted on Election Day at the town of Esopus town hall.
Yeah. I tried it on most election days to get around to several polling places and, offer my thanks to the poll workers, but also because I'm a candidate, I have the right under the law to inspect the polling places and the processes. I chose not to do so this year because of COVID, and I did vote in my own polling place, and I have to tell you, the protocol that they developed at my polling place, at least, was impressive. You walked in the door, they gave you plastic gloves or rubber gloves or whatever gloves, and then you hand sanitized. Then you went over to a table. The table had a shield above it, and they pushed the machine or the book out for us to sign. We were then directed over to another place where a person wiped the pen in front of me, handed me a cleaned pen. I went over to my little booth and signed it, and when I went back and put it in the machine, and I put it in the machine myself, I returned the pen to the poll worker that was at the machine, and he or she put it back into a cup for resanitation. I was impressed, and we had to come in one door and go out another. I can't say that every polling place had it because, as I said, this year I didn't get the going around.
Right.
But
well, the Esopus didn't.
Yeah.
Didn't have that kind of protocol and stuff. There was no plastic shields up there at all. But the other thing I was interested in, why did they put the threshold up so high this year for all the other parties to have to meet with so many votes, or they would lose their line on the ballot?
Some of the third parties have angered their friends. And I mean that. The Working Families Party has angered the Democrats in many respects because the Working Families Party has been seen as a spoiler in some cases, as asserting a particular political point of view. And in some respects, there are some Republicans who resent the stranglehold that the Conservative Party has over it. So there was a pretty broad consensus, of which, by the way, I was not a part. I didn't agree.
Right.
Consensus that we should make it more difficult for third parties to exist, and I don't think we're done with that yet. I think you're going to see further restrictions on third parties, and the intended victims of the third party bashing this year survived. Both the Conservative Party and the Working Families Party got enough votes to stay on the line. They will be there for the next gubernatorial election. Sorry, Governor Cuomo, you didn't get your way.
Right. And here's a guy who tells everybody that not to get together for Thanksgiving, but yet in the background he was planning on getting together with his family until he got caught up on the carpet on it and changed his mind yesterday.
I have to, I don't like to miss the opportunity to beat up on the governor, but I will say this, that I think the gathering that he was discussing, his 2 daughters and his mother, that would be a total of 4 people, is a perfectly legitimate gathering, and he probably should have been permitted to do so, particularly if he like me and many others continue to have contact with our moms, especially as our moms are getting older and they have great needs. And he probably does have some regular contact with his mother, and I know his daughters were living with him in the mansion, so there's a combination of factors there that says that probably wasn't a problem. We do have, however, leaders who are violating the rules and flaunting them and then apologizing as if that's okay. It's not. We should be leading by example, and I'm going to lead by example by turning it back over to Dan because...
Yes, it's time to go, and hey, thank you for what you do every year and all the time, and thank you for being on twice a month too, and like I said, I like the way that you run for office and stuff, you don't sling mud, and you're there to answer everybody's question, and that's what we need. We need to be able to have contact with our political leaders and stuff. So I thank you for that. And everybody enjoy Thanksgiving. And remember, Thanksgiving is a zero-calorie day. They don't count.
Yes. And George,
enjoy everybody.
George, thank you for your all your efforts, all you do in your hometown. Poll watcher for many, many years. You're active calling into the radio show. We always appreciate that. You have yourself an awesome Thanksgiving. Stay safe and be well.
Thank you, and you guys too.
Back in a few.
We got to keep KCR on the air.
Absolutely.
Have a great day, everybody.
Okay, and thank you. Thank you, George Post, for calling in, and thank you, Fred Costello, for being with us remotely, and a special thanks to Kevin Cahill, Assembly Member, State Assembly Member Kevin Cahill, and, of course, Greg Shorvis. You are with us here at Kingston Community Radio, WGHQ AM 920 and 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. Wednesday, November 25th, 36 degrees here in uptown Kingston. And this last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Central Hudson. And a little bit about the Mid-Hudson Valley weather and forecast. It's overcast today with a 20% chance of a rain shower. Later, it's a high of 51. Tonight, 70% chance of rain showers early, then a steady rain overnight, low around 40. Thanksgiving Day, it's not the best weather. 70% chance of a steady rain in the morning. Showers continuing in the afternoon, a high of 56. And Thanksgiving night, preponderance of clouds early, getting less cloudy overnight, a low of 41. And Friday, cloudy with a high of 54. Friday night, a few clouds with a low of 37. And we'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM. And also online at mykcr.org.
The Home Energy Assistance Program can help make winter a little warmer this season, with financial grants to eligible households to help pay heating or utility bills. Are you in need of assistance or know someone who is? Find out more about the benefits and eligibility requirements of the HEAP program by contacting your County Department of Social Services or by visiting the Assistance Programs section of Central Hudson's website, centralhudson.com. Do you go all out decorating for the holidays? Snap a photo of your home's decorations and you could win $500. Enter Central Hudson's Holiday Spirit Photo Contest today. If your photo gets the most likes on our Instagram page, you win. Deadline to enter is noon on December 11th. For contest rules and information on how to submit your photo, go to Central Hudson's Instagram page, central_Hudson, or visit centralhudson.com.
Hi, this is Eleanor Arrow from the town of Ulster, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
Thank you for being with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, on WGHQ, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. It's Wednesday, November 25th, and about 36 degrees here in uptown Kingston. And Le Canard-Enchaîné is still, seating is still available for Thanksgiving at Le Canard-Enchaîné, 276 Fair Street in Kingston. And the hours are 1 p.m., a seating at 1, at 4 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. $45 pre-fee dinner with many choices. Takeout is also available anytime between 1 and 6:30 p.m. by calling 339-2003, 845-339-2003. Same $45 pre-fee dinners also available for takeout. Let's get back to the on-air studio with Kevin Cahill and Greg Shorvis and Fred Costello probably too.
Thank you, Dan Gatiss, and those listeners who have been with us, welcome. Those just joined us for the last half hour, welcome. In the studio here with me is State Assemblyman Kevin Cahill. Virtually, Town Supervisor Fred Costello is also with us. And we're going to have something a little bit special that we've never done here on KCR. Only the Assemblyman and I know what it's about. And in a few minutes, the rest of the listeners, including our supervisor, will find out. You there, Fred?
Yeah, I feel a little left out, guys. Thanks a lot.
Well, Dan is busy on the phone, but I had a question for him about the restaurant that he just mentioned and another couple of restaurants in town. Before we get to that, it's just, Dan, back to the restaurants.
Yeah.
I wanted to just emphasize to anybody that was listening that the restaurants are going to great lengths to make sure of social distancing and make sure that the seating is safe. And I know in the case of Le Canard-Enchaîné, they've opened up another room and they still
that expands the spaced seating quite well. Yeah. So don't think there's going to be too much going on outside this Thanksgiving for any restaurants. Right. It's going to be a rainy day.
Better than snow.
Be careful, folks. Be careful. It's a rainy day. Be careful with yourself.
Better than snow, though. And I believe we have a caller.
Yep.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio.
Good morning and happy Thanksgiving, gentlemen.
Hi, Paul. How are you? Hey, listen, I was hoping you would call because I wanted to thank you for taking up the challenge for the Kingston Community Radio WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund and being a significant part of their record-breaking year that they're having this year. You were very kind, very generous, and you did it during my half hour, which was...
I always like to, come in and just, show you that, we appreciate all that you do and certainly supporting our radio station. So, that was very good.
You look great, by the way.
And I enjoyed the fact that the Rotary, celebrated my brother, too. That was great.
Yeah.
But the question I have is that we elect people for office, and they take an oath to serve the people. But the consequences are that they forget that, and they begin to serve their party or their political leaders. I want to know what the Assembly and the Senate are going to do to protect the people against an arrogant tyrant such as our governor, Cuomo. When he comes down and says he will decide who gets the vaccines and when they will get the vaccine, in spite of everything that's done by the greatest experts in the world, the scientists and others that say that it should go to our first responders, our people who are working in the hospitals at the first care, and to the seniors, because they are most in jeopardy, especially those in nursing homes. And then he's going to dictate that. But when he makes his announcement, he never says that first will come in that order. Yeah. So are we going to say as seniors that we are now going to have to wait and possibly, more of us will get killed off, which probably pleases him. but this is something where what is our Assembly and our Senate going to do to protect the seniors, the first responders?
Well, Paul, I want to tackle that question a couple of different ways, and if I get cut off, it's because we have to accommodate Greg's desire to do this special thing that he wants to do. But let's go through this a little bit. For the first time in many years, both houses of the legislature will have what's called a supermajority. That is, enough people in each house from one party who could overrule the governor if there is a consensus amongst the people of that party. Let me make clear that the Democratic Party is not a monolith. We have conservative Democrats, we have liberal Democrats, we have socialist Democrats, we have mainstream Democrats, we have progressive Democrats, we have upstate and downstate, we have Hudson Valley and Western New York, Long Island and the city of New York, the Southern Tier and the North Country. So we don't have a single uniform view of what's right for New York State. But in those instances where there is a sense that the governor has overstepped, in the past, we couldn't do anything about it because of the way New York State government is set up. The chief executive of New York State, not Andrew Cuomo, but the chief executive of New York State, no matter who that is the single most powerful chief executive of any government in the United States of America, including the federal government. The relative power of the executive over the legislative and judicial branch in New York State is unparalleled across this country, and that was not because the legislature did it. It was shaped going back to the days when George Clinton was our governor, and over a series of changes over the years of giving the governors more authority, whether it was creating the budget authority, which was given to Al Smith, or the extensive use of off-budget borrowing, which was done by Nelson Rockefeller, or the court decision in Pataki versus Silver, where the court basically said if the governor said it, that's the law. Our governors have an enormous amount of power. The check that will exist this year when we think the governor has overstepped is that there is a now veto-proof legislature, and we can legislate against the governor's will. I don't think we're going to generally have to do that. I think that we're going to find that there's mostly common ground. And I had this discussion the other day with some friends of mine, including my good friend Andrew Garbarino, who just won for the United States House of Representatives from the eastern part of Long Island. That people perceive that we are more at odds than we are. By and large, about 90% of the time, we all agree. Whether it's the most conservative Republican or the most liberal Democrat, we agree. In terms of how much of a check will this legislature put on the governor, we'll do at least as good a job, if not better, than the United States Senate did with President Trump over the last 4 years. And I'm sure that we will make sure that this governor acts responsibly. I want to address the specific concern over the distribution of the virus, because I think that's an important issue, and one that has shades of politics associated with it, but probably not as much as people think. It is a long-standing tradition that big states like New York, California, have their own independent review of vaccines and other public health issues before they are rolled out in our states. That's because of the unique nature of our very crowded states. New York and California are very crowded, have a significant portion of the population. I think 1 in 5 people live in one of those two places in the United States. And so it is nothing new for the governor to declare that our Department of Health will vet the virus and make sure that it has met all the protocols that every other virus that's approved for use in New York State vaccine virus. Yeah, all other vaccines that are used in New York State comply with. I think that the governor has said from the beginning that he wants to adhere to science and not politics. And when it looked like the vaccine was being rushed through without the appropriate protocols at the federal level, I think he raised the flag, and it was a legitimate thing to do. The last thing we want to do is impose upon our population a vaccine that's going to be worse than the disease itself. and we want to make sure it's safe and sound. That doesn't mean there's going to be any kind of delay in New York State. This can happen contemporaneously to the extent that it's permitted by the federal government and the drug manufacturers, and we could roll out here in New York State in the same way. The protocol for who gets the vaccine first is one that I think is best left to the health professionals for the reasons that they understand best in a environment of public health. It shouldn't be a political decision. It shouldn't be my friend gets it and my enemy doesn't. It shouldn't be that I don't care about old people, so old people aren't getting it, or I don't care about the schools, so we're not going to give it to kids. It should be about science. And with all my disagreements with the governor, I think he was appropriate to say we're going to take a look at this vaccine, make sure it's safe and sound, and once it is, we're going to distribute it as best we can across the state.
Well, I think that it's something where we have across the country and across by the greatest experts challenging the vaccine and coming up with the, proof that it does work. So for any delay on the part of the governor, so that he can then get another Emmy or maybe the Academy Award this year, that the people who are going to suffer the most are the seniors. And the seniors are the ones that need it. By all accounts, all science shows that they're the ones that need it most for the protection. They're the ones who are the most affected by it. I see no indication that this is coming from the governor or that he is going to say it. If it's the case, he can refer to all of the scientists that are only available to him besides just those that are in New York State, and then just come up with a decision and follow their advice. Otherwise, we will see it'll be very convenient because, well, the nursing homes suddenly won't need to be there because there'll be no people in the nursing homes anymore. Seniors who are the most expensive in terms of Medicare, Medicaid, and other areas where they get assistance, they will be eliminated, so he will have more of his budget so that he can go and give back his raise. I mean, there is no trust for this government because of his recent actions, but most important, seniors need to be aware that they are being put in jeopardy until we find that your Assembly and the Senate force him to come out at the same time and make sure that the vaccines are available and they can be given in the order in which it is suggested across the board nationally.
Well, I know we share one very common goal, and that is that everybody in our state be made safe and healthy.
Absolutely.
And I wish you nothing but health during this holiday season. Well, maybe happiness too, but not when it comes to politics.
That's because you have a new pin to wear.
And Dr. Paul.
I do. From you. Thank you.
Dr. Paul, we got somebody else in the wings. Thank you for calling in. Have yourself an awesome day and a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe and be well.
Yeah, the same goes to you and all the families. Right. Bye-bye.
Okay. So momentarily, we're expecting a caller. We got a line open now, right? Correct, Dan? Fred, you still with us, right?
Maybe get him to call you with making a FaceTime call on your phone.
I'm still here, guys.
Hey, Fred. Good to hear you. You finished with that oil change yet?
Not quite. Not quite.
So, I know that. Well, I'll just keep talking because
yes, you keep talking.
Nature abhors politicians abhor dead air. But just some quick statistics on COVID. There are 523 active cases in Ulster County as of November 23rd. 613 active cases in Dutchess County. As of Monday, November 23rd, the Ulster County government limited access to its buildings. DMV will remain open by appointment only. Restaurants and gyms must close to in-person services at 10 o'clock. In-person gatherings are limited to 10 people. And there's been a lot of talk about the governor looking in our window on Thanksgiving. He personally declared that he's not going to do that, although you can buy for $10 a poster of Governor Cuomo looking in your window.
Staring it through the bay window.
Yeah. But it is important that people voluntarily adhere to these rules. This is not about liberty or freedom. It's about safety and health. So take it away.
So we got a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio. And let me guess, is it Village Mayor William Murphy?
Well, no, actually, it's roving reporter Bill Murphy calling from Finger Street in Sorgaties with our tree cuttings.
Live on
Village.
live on KCR, the Sorgaties Christmas tree cutting.
Yes, we're just about the tree service. Ivino Tree Service is backing in right now, getting ready to take the tree down. I sent you a picture of the tree.
Yes, tree looks beautiful. Now, just one question. Yeah, let me hold this up for our those that are streaming.
Is that Kevin there, by the way? You have my sandwich?
So there's the beautiful Christmas tree. So my question to you is, I hope you are not using a chainsaw.
I am not touching any power equipment now.
Thank God.
Yes.
The mayor used to work for me years ago. We wouldn't let him touch any power equipment.
So, Bill, what is? Can you as our ace reporter in the field? Can you describe the scene that we're witnessing audio?
Well, we got J&J Crane Service here. We usually the village DPW takes the tree down themselves, but the power lines in front of the house, this particular house this year, which happens to be my neighbor. The donators are Chrissy and Mike Spolino from Sorgaties, New York, and they're gracious enough to donate a blue spruce in their front yard for our annual Christmas tree. So J&J Tree Service is assisting my DPW right now, and they're setting up the crane to try to avoid the power lines so no one gets electrocuted.
Did you check for pigeons to make sure you don't have to send a bird down to New York City after you take the tree down?
Well, I'm just making sure none of my cats are in the tree right now, because I have 3 cats that I live next door, so I'm just making sure they're out of the tree, and then we're going to try to take it down. So,
and we should mention...
This is an annual tradition in Sorgaties. We do a big tree every year, and this year I wanted to go bigger. Everybody needs to kind of uplift, and every year the tree can be donated by a local family, whether a village, town, or sometimes even outside of Sorgaties. A family donates a tree in memory of lost past loved ones. I believe this one's being donated, and the donators, Chrissy, her father passed recently, so I believe this tree's going to be dedicated to her parents.
Nice gesture.
And it's funny, just a couple of years ago, the next door neighbor across the street donated to Hackett's. Remember that, Greg?
Yes.
Vince Hackett donated a tree, and not Vince, I'm sorry, Walt Hackett, in memory of his wife.
Right, Walt, not Vince.
Yep.
Yes.
Walt just passed away himself, actually.
And we should, I know you mentioned J&J Tree Service, but I'm sure Mike Ivino is the person that's there that's taking it down. And Mike has really got involved with the community.
They donate their services as well.
What's that?
They donate their services as well.
Yes. And there's another young individual who's also a town board member in Sorgaties that has donated his services. I know he helped us out up at Bigelow Park. That saved us probably about $5,000. And he also supplies his crane for the ball drop on New Year's Eve, correct?
Correct. Yep, absolutely. And just so people, once I have the time, next Sunday, December 6th, is going to be our annual Christmas in the Village. It's obviously not going to be like it normally is because of mass gathering restrictions. But, we are going to have the tree lighting at Reese Lot, and we're really decorating it up this year. I actually had an individual donate a Santa mailbox, homemade, handcrafted Santa mailbox we're putting out by the tree so kids can deposit their letters, and every letter will get answered, I promise. I have myself and some other volunteers that are going to work on that. We're going to really decorate the light up. I got college kids coming in this weekend and do some extra decorating in the village. We really want to brighten people up this year since it's been such a tough year. So we're going to try to do a little extra in the village to, bring out the Christmas spirit.
Now, are you still planning on having the fire truck parade?
Yes. That was the next thing I was going to get to.
Good.
We're going to have the fire truck parade, except this year it's going to be residential. The fire companies decided what we'll do is go down residential streets rather than just down Main Street to the park, and there'll be no stopping at the park. It'll eventually come up Finger Street, west to east, and as it passes Siemens Park, we will have the official lighting at the park, and then the fire truck thing will disperse. I believe the map for the fire truck parade is on the Village Town website. Chris Mason did post it, or it might be on the Sorgaties Fire Department Facebook page. They're going to encompass like Elm Market, some of the residential streets, so people can stay home and enjoy the fire truck parade.
Great.
And so, we're still doing little things, just not encouraging any mass gathering. We're still going to celebrate Christmas in the Village. I know stores are doing windows decorating, the chamber's doing some things. Of course, Bob's Chicken Sandals, I can have live music at the reslot. So there will be activities going on in the village, but nothing to encourage large gatherings. We're trying to find the happy medium there, and basically leave it up to people's own discretion. So it'll be good. Hey, something's better than nothing.
Hey, Bill, can I ask you to give this some thought for the future? One of my favorite movies is Bill Murray's Groundhog Day, and he goes to Puxatawney and he goes to whatever. No, it's not. But they pick a different town there. But it always reminded me of the village of Saugerties. It just the friendly nature, walking across the street, waving to your neighbor, and seeing the insurance agent as your way into the diner in the morning. It's always reminded me of that. What do you think about on Tuesday, February 2nd, you doing a remote reporting of Saugerties Sam and making Groundhog's Day a Saugerties holiday?
I would absolutely love to do that. Honestly, I think that's cool as shit. Oh, sorry, I'm on the radio. I think that's cool as anything. Sorry.
It's $25,000 down the drain. So, well.
No, I love that idea. Remind me. I would love to do that. That'd be very, very cool. A nice new tradition to start.
I would urge people to take a look at that movie, and if it does not look like every great Hudson Valley village and town on whatever day it is that those towns celebrate, like you're doing today, I'll eat my hat. It really does have that same feel to it. It could be it could be Mamaroneck, it could be Hudson, but I keep thinking it's Saugerties, so or Rhinebeck maybe, but.
I think that as a compliment because I'm always proud of this community. I know Greg is, I know Freddie is, I know everybody is, and we come together at the right times. And Saugerties has done a lot of coming together through the past 6-8 months. And just to add to that, I know you'll probably be mad at me for saying this, but today Diamond Mills, in conjunction with the Boys and Girls Club and Tom Cesare and I know Bob Circonsano's helping out. They're giving out 1,000 Thanksgiving meals today at the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, I'd mentioned that earlier. I thought the number was 1,200, but I could be mistaken.
They might have got up. I was with Dan last night, and the picture that I got from Diamond Mills with all the meals lined up is unbelievable. And, I hope to get over there for a few hours and get them a hand today.
And I ran into Chris Sesh 2 days ago as I was stopping at one of the many restaurants at which I'm getting Thanksgiving dinner. And he was hawking the poinsettias on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club that they're selling this time of year as one of their fundraisers. So
yes, the poinsettias as well, yep. And then they got another fundraiser. Well, I don't have it on my phone, but right now there's currently a national vote going on for Boys and Girls Club. And the top 3 clubs get a $1,000 donation. Dan had sent me the link. Greg, maybe I'll forward it to you. And he's encouraging all local residents to go on every day and vote for Saugerties. If they be finishing the top 3, they'll get a $1,000 donation to their club as well.
No need to do that. I've been voting every single day.
All right.
You get to vote for once a day.
So I can tell you about the poinsettia sale. Friday, free delivery of orders over 5 plants, delivery and pickup from the Kingston Boys and Girls Club, December 4th, 2020. Donation is $11 per plant. Orders must be in by yesterday, but I bet you can get away with today. For information, you can call them at 845-338-8666 or contact Dan D. Whalen at bgclubulstercounty.org. And I will make sure this information gets to my office. If anybody wants to give us a call, we'll make their life miserable by having people call on the day after their deadline and to get their flowers.
Well, Mayor, thank you for. Normally you're in the studio here, but it was just as good. Something we've never done before, and once again, Village of Saugerties Mayor William Murphy live from the tree cutting in Saugerties, soon to be at Reese's parking lot.
And I'll send you one more updated picture after I hang up.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right,
Fred,
guys, have a great Thanksgiving.
Fred, are you still with us?
I am still here.
All right. You have any closing thoughts?
Good, exciting stuff. And look forward to seeing the tree all decorated in a day or two.
I just saw the tree at the end of Wall Street on North Front Street here in Kingston. I think there's another one going to be in Midtown. So we're getting into the spirit. And this year I don't mind it too much because it signals one very important thing, that 2020 is almost over.
Oh, God. And another thing too, and I don't know who's responsible for doing it. They do it every year with the whitish blue LED lights. right at Washington. I believe it's Washington and North Front Street, right across from the bus.
Minetti and Minetti's office. Yeah.
Okay, is that who does that? I mean, that, of course, it was dark this morning. That is an awesome display. Yeah. That very well done. The Blue Cats do something very, very similar right at the entrance to the village, just before you cross the railroad tracks, as you're coming into the village of Saugerties every year.
If people want to see the most spectacular Christmas display that I've seen in our area, it's down Esopus Way, just on the other side of Port Ewan. If you go drive down and you keep your eye to the right as you're heading south, or to the left as you're heading north, between the ambulance service and Iron Mountain, there's a little side road there, and that display is phenomenal. It's a family that does it, and they have Santa in the window, and he waves to you, and they have all kinds of stuff on the lawns of like 3 properties right now. So
I have to put that on the list.
Pretty magic.
That is definitely worth a short ride. That display is very impressive.
Yeah.
Glad you mentioned that. I've never seen it. We are out
All right,
of time.
guys, I'm going to sign off.
I'm getting the
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you, Fred. Happy Thanksgiving to our listeners. State Assemblyman Kevin Cahill, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Same to you, Dan Gatiss. We'll be back next Wednesday.
Yeah, it's happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thank you, Kevin Cahill, Greg Shorvis, Bill Murphy, and Fred Costello for calling in today. It's now 8:59. It's Wednesday, November 25th, 37 degrees right now here in Uptown Kingston. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Central Hudson. And until tomorrow at 7 a.m., we wish you every success in growing and developing Kingston and all our neighboring communities. This has been Kingston Community Radio, Super Wednesdays, and we now return you to Real Country Radio.
But the hills and the bills and the week full of deals has got him feeling you. While he's kicking his shoes off, she's putting hers on, 'cause she's got the Friday night blues. Oh, those Friday night blues, they get in your shoes and they work to get you down.
This is Real Country Radio of the Hudson Valley. WBNR Beacon, WLNA Peekskill, WGHQ Kingston, and online at realcountryhv.com.
Real Country.
We're country to the core. Real country.
There's an Elvis movie on the marquee sign. We've all seen at least 3 times. Everybody's broke, Bobby's got a buck. Put $1 worth of gas in his pickup truck. We're going 90 miles an hour down a dead-end road. What's a hurry, son? Where you gonna go? We're gonna howl at the moon, shoot out the light. It's a small town Saturday night. It's a small town Saturday night. Lucy's got a lipstick on a little too bright. Bobby's getting drunk and looking for a fight. Liquor on his breath, trouble on his mind. Well, Lucy's just a kid along for the ride. Got a 6-pack of beer and a bottle of wine. Gotta be bad just to have a good time. They're gonna howl at the moon, shoot out the light. It's a small town Saturday night. It's a small town Saturday night. Bobby told Lucy the world ain't round. Drops off sharp at the edge of town. Well, Lucy, you know the world must be flat. 'cause when people leave town, they never come back. They go 90 miles an hour to the city limit sign, put the pedal to the metal before they change their mind. Hey, howl at the moon, shoot out the light, it's a small town Saturday night. Yeah, howl at the moon, shoot out the light. Yeah, it's a small town Saturday night. It's a small town Saturday night. It's a small town Saturday night.
Real country all the time.
I'm finding out how hot an old flame can burn. You're a feeling I haven't forgot, the love I can't unlearn. You've become a memory I can't live without. You'll always be a fire I can't put out. I don't know how to handle the dream you left behind. It's like a lighted candle burning up my mind. At least I'm happy knowing what love's all about. You'll always be a fire I can't put out. Embers to ashes, that's how it should be. You'd think by now my heart would know, and it could set you free. The things I've tried, the tears I've cried, I guess there's no doubt. You'll always be a fire I can't put out. I don't know how to handle the dream you left behind. It's like a lighted candle burning up my mind. At least I'm happy knowing what love is all about. You'll always be a fire I can't put out. You'll always be a fire I can't put out.
This is Real Country Radio, Hudson Valley. From Alabama to Zach Brown, we play everyone's country favorites.
We were poor when I was a young'un. I don't remember ever going hungry. Daddy made sure we didn't do without. I went to school with some of these fellas. They had money and I was jealous. I didn't know then what I know now. Daddy'd say you can't judge a book by looking at the cover. It's what's inside that really matters. Daddy never was a Cadillac kind. He said some things just glitter and shine. Taught us that love was the one thing money couldn't buy. Daddy never was high school. Got me a big car, thought it was real cool, cruising around the old neighborhood. I'd see Daddy after church on Sunday. Say you'll have to go riding with me someday, just sitting